Okay.
You have to try not to frown because of the brightness of things.
Hi, we're Mark and Sue, and we're the national leadership couple for Worldwide Marriage Encounter for England and Wales.
Hello, I'm Father Tom Ryan, SMA, and I am the National Leadership Priest working with Sue and Mark. As you may know, Worldwide Marriage Encounter provides enrichment weekends for married couples and those in long-term relationships. To celebrate UK Marriage Week 2020, we'd like to share with you some of our thoughts on the theme this year, which is the Forever Conversation. We would like to begin with a short story. James loved the violin. He loved going to concert halls and listened all the time to violin soloists. After years of thinking about it, he decided to take lessons. So he bought a violin and felt like a superstar walking out of the music shop with the case under his arm. The first week before his lesson, he dusted his violin, tuned it, and even left the case open so he could glance over at the violin while he watched TV. Then the evening arrived for his first lesson. The teacher taught James how to hold the violin and the bow, and how to move the bow between the strings. She gave him several exercises to practice at home, and they agreed that he would practice for 20 minutes each day. At his second lesson, the teacher asked James to perform the exercises, but he struggled. The teacher corrected a few things and sent him home with additional exercises. At the third lesson, the same happened, and this went on for weeks. Finally, the teacher said to him, "Tell me, how has your practice time been going?" "Oh, it's been going okay," he said. "How often did you practice this week?" James looked away embarrassed. "Remember how I told you to practice every day for 20 minutes? Have you done that?" No. Things have been crazy at work, and the neighbours are away for 3 weeks, and I'm house-sitting their dog." And the excuses went on. The teacher listened patiently before saying, "You've told me many times that you love the violin, and that you would love to learn to play it. But I have identified a problem. You have not yet committed to the process of becoming a violinist. You are not in love with learning to play the violin. You are in love with the idea of learning to play the violin."
Today we are celebrating marriage, and within Worldwide Marriage Encounter, also the value of holy orders and the lifelong commitment to God. When we think about commitment, we usually have a strong sense of intention and focus. We often make a statement of our purpose, such as our wedding vows or holy orders. For each one of us, this moment in our lives will have been filled with meaning and gravity, but we don't all mean the same thing. We may begin with a strong sense of commitment, of fidelity, but we know from our life experience that couples divorce, families break up, and priests and religious leave their vocation. Just like James in the story, our intentions to commitment are genuine, but not always sustainable. In our modern world, value is placed on experiences, thrill-seeking, and in self-fulfillment. If a relationship is not meeting our needs, then we are encouraged to be true to ourselves and to move on to a new one. Commitment is temporary and has no price. So how do we avoid the loss of our commitment? The difficulty is that we make our vows without ever thinking about the process necessary to achieve the goals. James was in love with the violin. He was passionate about it, but he wasn't committed to practice.
The story of Ruth in the Bible is particularly important to us. We chose it as a reading for our wedding. When Ruth becomes widowed, she commits to living with her widowed mother-in-law Naomi, leaving her own family and tribe to live in a foreign land. The story reminds us that true commitment to others always has a price tag, and the price is rarely cheap. Ruth conveyed that it did not matter where Naomi had to experience. Ruth planned to stay by her side. In a world of throwaway relationships, this kind of commitment needs to be modelled for the world. Ruth's reply to Naomi is a classical statement of commitment and covenant love. This level of commitment seems strange in our culture because many people enter into relationships as if they were contracts. Relationships are covenants, not contracts. A contract is built on expectations, while covenant is built on relationships. A contract is self-centered, but a covenant is other-centered. A contract is about receiving, but covenants are about giving. Ruth indicated that no matter what happened in life, she was not going to leave Naomi. With these memorable words, Ruth defined for the world the meaning of total commitment.
This year, Sue and I celebrate 25 years of marriage. If you ask me what I had for tea yesterday, I'm unlikely to be able to tell you. But I can remember giving my vows to Sue and hearing her give hers to me. The memory is vivid, her blue eyes wide and open and sparkling, holding me with a look that touched my soul. When I gave my commitment before God and our family and friends, I spoke them from my very core, with a yearning to be at Sue's side, regardless of all else. Even now as I speak, I'm there in that moment, and my soul is moved. However, in the past 25 years, there have been barren and lonely times between us, sometimes when I wondered if we even had a future. At those times, I've reflected back on our wedding day, and on that moment of vow-making, and my hardened heart has melted. The reasons why I married Sue have not changed. I still want to journey with her. I want her to be loved and cherished, to be the best person she can be, and that shining, vivacious girl I married is now a glowing, vivacious woman who fills me with excitement for our life to come together. I gave a covenant vow to Sue to follow her without reservation, to engage in a real relationship with her, loving her for who she is, rather than to receive from her for my own ends.
In our most intimate relationships, what we are looking for to give are love, happiness, and fidelity, all parts of covenant love. When we look at the marriage statistics for our time, we might be drawn to think that it is ridiculous to believe that we might achieve this for a lifetime. However, if we choose to give of ourselves by making a choice to love our partner, by valuing them, by listening with an open heart, by sharing our inner feelings with love, then we can journey in an intimate and loving relationship. For me, this means that over the years I've become more in tune with Mark, walking by his side. The path may be meander, but it's wide enough for us to do so. But like any other relationship, there are times when one of us has been in front, striding out, or lagging behind. At times like this, I've felt very alone. I've often referred to this as my foggy day. I feel distant from Mark, cold, and at odds with the world. Over the years, an issue that's raised its head is around our eldest child. I love my son to bits, but we can quite easily clash. The issues build up inside me, and because I know Mark has a different relationship with him, he doesn't always see things in the same light. So I keep my concerns to myself, and the distance between Mark and myself widens. I withdraw from our relationship. I feel miserable and alone. This seemingly small issue can grow into a vast divide. However, when I choose to act out of love in our relationship, I behave differently. I make the choice to be open, and I trust to share my feelings with Mark, thus growing closer and walking that path together again. Through sharing our feelings, we make a commitment to prioritise our intimate relationship by actually valuing the relationship over less important things that seem to get in the way.
In his letter to the Galatians, St. Paul reminds us of the character qualities we enjoy as a result of God's Spirit living in us. The fruits of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. These qualities make possible the kind of commitment taught in the story of Ruth. The key is that it is the fruit of the Holy Spirit and not of us. We cannot manufacture this fruit. It comes as a natural byproduct of our growing relationship with Jesus Christ. While we can try to generate this selfless love that is central to commitment, it comes naturally as we deepen our relationship with Christ. In my own religious community, these fruits are often spoken about and indeed meditated upon. They enable us to possess the right disposition, the right attitude towards the other person. Disposition and attitude are words that are important to me and are vital in the life of any religious community. All members must recognize that these gifts are not for the few, but for everyone. Live correctly, these fruits give rise to a harmony in the way we live and how we accept each other. I have lived in community for a long number of years. I do not insist on the traditional timetable, which leads to compliance and often a sense of resentment. I think it is always good to have the community members motivated by these fruits, fruits of the Spirit, that they choose what is right for them. They have a background and a knowledge, the same as me. So, to what is needed in a religious community is that there is a spiritual dimension, a relationship with God, and affirmative relationships with the other members. While our world struggles to understand and define commitment, it is critical that we present to the world a model of true relational commitment. This kind of loyalty to one another will help define for the world the immeasurable love of God. Here today we are joined in celebration of our commitment to our spouses and our communities. By choosing to live our relationship as a covenant commitment, we give to the other and allow the gifts of the Spirit to shine out. The world needs to see relationships that sustain the ups and downs of life, to see that living our relationship as a gift of love can enable us to sustain the years. And so we have a question for you so that you reflect upon it. What do I want to share with my spouse, partner, community today to celebrate my commitment to you. What are my feelings? Take 10 minutes now to reflect on this, perhaps making some notes or writing a loving letter to your spouse, and then share as a couple for 10 minutes. Pause this video now, and then play it again when you are ready for the conclusion. Today we are celebrating commitment, not as a contract that we can relinquish when we change our minds, but as a daily choice to remain in a covenant relationship with our spouse and community. We can draw on the fruits of the Holy Spirit, giving the gift of ourselves in our thoughts and feelings to our loved ones, shining like a lighthouse across the rocky seas of the modern world, a beacon of love and commitment, a sign of the living gospel. As we share this with you today, we are in the midst of a global pandemic. These are difficult and terrible times. Confinement creates friction, and fear of the unknown makes us feel on edge. None of us know what tomorrow will bring, but then do we ever know? So let us not waste time fearing the unknown. Appreciate today and each other. We know it's important to give each other space, especially when we are used to being apart with work or activity. So continue and create a routine. Build in moments for shared tea breaks. Have a start and a finish time if working from home or with your planned activities. Most importantly, take time each day to appreciate those you live with. Why not share a meal without distractions, listening to each other? Be curious in your conversations. Acknowledge your fears, but then think about the joys. Don't forget you are not alone. There are lots of organizations that can help, whether it's tips on activities, meals on a budget, mental health well-being, someone to talk to in a crisis. Earlier you reflected on what you wanted to celebrate about your commitment. Hold this in your heart when the going gets tough, and this will support you on your journey together in a life-giving covenant commitment to each other. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. I pray that the Lord may bless you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord let his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look kindly on you, give you his peace, now and forever. Amen.
Bye.
Bye.